The old Fadama enclave is one of the oldest and densely populated vicinities within the capital. It consists of the largest slum dwelling and a popular market known as the Agbogloshi Market. Also at Old Fadama, one can locate the biggest scrap yard where all types of recyclable items, including waste of electrical and electronic equipment, can be found.
We normally get our scrap from fitting shops and electronic, shops where they repair computers, televisions, and other, equipments. These are the sources by which we get our materials. Also, we get our materials from the household, where people have, equipments one way or the other, which they have used. Now they don't have any use for them. Our boys also go there and then they buy these materials from them and then bring them to the scrapyard. Also, we get our materials from companies or industries that, want to dispose of their obsolete machines and equipments. We are also called upon, we go there and then we buy them and then bring them to the scrapyard. Also, the ministries and the government agencies also have equipments and whatever that they also want to scrap, which they have used, during the period. They also call upon us. We also go there and then we buy all these materials also, and then we bring them to the scrapyard and then dismantle them and then remove all the required materials and then we dispose them off.
Some research done in previous studies suggests that most second-hand electronic products that come into the country are actually e-waste, right? So they come under the pretense that these are second-hand goods that can be used before they go waste. But they actually come as waste. So when they come, you can hardly make use of them.
The wastes are sorted, dismantled and sometimes burned to obtain aluminium, brass, copper, iron, stainless steel, among others, useful for other purposes, although the process is said to be hazardous to the environment and lives. The business over the decade has become a source of livelihood for the thousands of scrap dealers and their families.
People who are sitting at the scrapyard, they have their own money. They buy the scraps that are generated from all aspects of, the country that are brought here, and they buy them. We have these truck pushers also, who also form a larger number of our membership that go around within the Accra metropolis and then get all these scrap metals and then they bring them also to the scrapyard. We have drivers also who carry the scrap to Tema.
No, if you clear them from Old Fadama, you clean that particular environment, but the rest of Ghana will not be cleaned. That is very important. And they are crucial to this our economy, because these are the people who scavenge for this e-waste. And if you go to Old Fadama, you will notice that this is a pure industry, with several branches. You collect the e-waste, the variable fractions are put aside, which are also used by repairers in repairing our televisions and mobile phones and so on. And then the metals are used to create other products, copper and tins and pans and other things. And so you get copper and other things, which some of them are even exported out to the country. And this is what you want to stop, so that everything is utilized here.
The practice of burning electronic waste has persisted over the years, making the dealers oblivious to the hazards which may compromise on their health and safety, especially those of the hundreds of women and children exposed to the trade.
Some of this copper with the rubber, we don't have any alternative way to handle them but to set fire to them, burn them. Sometimes it generates smoke into the atmosphere, which in fact cause a lot of concern for us and then other people within the environment. When they burn the copper, the rubber surrounding it has to be taken away, and the rubber generates smoke. And this smoke is a very serious, negative effect that also affects the health of, the people. Not only us here, but it goes far away into the environment. And then also these computers and the monitors also contain some hazardous, chemicals. Sometimes, like previously, when we take a hammer, because we don't know how to handle them, we just break them, not knowing there are hazardous, materials inside. So this thing also affects our health. You understand? In a way, sometimes this thing will not be in a short term, but maybe in a long term, about 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, then somebody will start having the effect.
The environmentally unsound practices that the e-waste informal collectors were practicing at Agbogboshi was not good. And evidence of it was the fact that the soil at Agbogboshi is heavily contaminated, and the water at Agbogboshi as well, with heavy metals, etc. This in turn meant that environmentally the air was so polluted, and in terms of health-wise to the informal e-waste collectors, as well as women, children that operate in their various livelihoods around that area were also affected.
Having committed to the Basel Convention on the Transboundary Movement of Hazardous Waste, Ghana enacted the Hazardous and Electronic Waste Control and Management Act 2016, Act 917, and its legislative instrument, the Hazardous Electronic and Other Waste Control and Management Regulation, LI 2250, to regulate the trade. Subsequently, the National Integrated E-Waste Program was initiated to operationalize the legal framework. The Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation also collaborated with the Environmental Protection Agency to develop technical guidelines to manage electronic waste in the country.
The ministry also had to sign an agreement with a local company that is supposed to build a state-of-the-art recycling plant in Ghana to deal with the e-waste after they've been collected and they've been paid for. The third component of this national program is the appointment of an administrator for the e-waste fund. And in October last year, 31st October, the president appointed an administrator for the e-waste fund. And the last one is an agreement that Mesty signed with KfW. It's a German financial institution that is the Kreditanstalt für Wiederaufbau. That is the full name of the company.
The basic idea of this project is to channel e-waste from the informal sector to the formal sector. So it is like a way which has to be balanced. For us, the first understanding is not to damage any value chain on both sides. That means that the scrap dealer still have their opportunity to participate in this treatment channel.
So EPA's role within this project is actually to lead the formalization process and also putting standards that could regulate this sector. We are also mindful of the fact that these are businesses that are sustaining them, and we don't want to use the law to actually collapse their businesses. So we are designing this whole model around the business processes so that we can maintain their jobs and then also satisfy their environmental health and safety issues.
A component of the project will see to the establishment of a state-of-the-art handover center at a site near the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. Being one of the world's leading promotional banks, KfW is committed to improving economic, social and environmental conditions across the globe on behalf of the Federal Republic of Germany and through the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ. Currently, KFW and the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation are implementing the Phase 1 of the recycling and disposal of waste of electrical and electronic equipment in an environmentally sound manner project with the German Gopa Infra and Rumble as the lead consortium in partnership with EAP Consult, which is a Ghanaian company. The setting up of the Satellite Handover Center at Old Fadama for the collection of waste of electrical and electronic equipment to be recycled and disposed of in an environmentally sound manner as a pilot project is also intended to gather information on lessons learned in order to facilitate the implementation of the National Integrated E-Waste Program. The project is in partnership with the German Development Corporation and funded by KFW. It employs an incentive payment system aimed at nibbling the burning of e-waste and, by extension, environmental pollution in the bud.
For the start, we are looking at 4 different types of cables. We are looking at high-grade copper cable, we are looking at mixed-grade copper cables, and we are also looking at aluminum cables, and then we are looking at iron or steel cables. Now, once the scrap dealers brings this thing in, they go through a process. We are in COVID times, so normally before the person enters, he has to go through the temperature check or the COVID procedures that have been outlined by the Ghana Health Service. So he goes through the temperature check. Now, once the cable goes in, they have to sort it out. Now, they have to remove all the dirt, all the materials that are not cables, and then also take away the plugs also from it. Once he's go through that process, he packs his cables, and then there is a weighing scale. He weighs the cables that he brought in, goes through the process, look at what his cables weighed, and then it will give us the weight in pounds. The attendant person over there will take few details like his name, his mobile number. So most of the things have been automated so that we can facilitate ease of transactions. So under the color marking, we have the red, we have the black, we have the yellow, and then we have the blue, all signifying the 4 different grades that we have. So that is what we are doing. Now we have this container that we are, for now, storing all of them temporarily. Then at a point where we think that we have enough, we will transport this to another facility and then be able to give it to a former recycler who will be able to go through the process to ensure that that environmentally sound idea of the project is gotten.
The key assignment is to reduce the burning of cables and thermoplastics, to provide certain indicators which will give the proof that it is reduced, and to have purchased a certain quantity of types, e-waste types. That are the key measures. At the same time, to make sure that the value chain of the informal sector is not taken away.
The prices that are offered is commensurate to whatever that is being presented to them, because before the calculation of the price, we looked at the world market price and then look at the copper content and also the rubber content. All these things were factored in before we arrived at a price.
And the agbobloshi prices are actually higher than the international market prices.
We have seen the fact that burning with the rubber and then buying them with the rubber, buying them with the rubber is more profitable. Why is it so? Tests has proved that when you burn, you reduce the weight of even the copper. And then the burning makes the copper to be black, and then it reduces the purity of the copper. So you will not get a good price. But when the machine handles the copper, removes the rubber, and then the copper, you see the copper is very clean. Therefore, it gives somebody a very good price.
The incentive payment system is said to have a huge impact on the livelihood, especially on the environment, health, and the well-being of the scrap dealers.
Basically, what we are doing, first of all, is to train them on the new laws. Some of them have been very appreciative of that fact that they want to regulate their environment. So we are actually engaging people who can do collection, people who can do dismantling, and people who can do recycling. So all these people make up the whole value chain, and we are engaging all of them to actually get to know about the laws, the requirements, and then how best we can also assist them to get these permits and then the waste collected safely.
Through competitive bidding, recycling companies who wish to buy the raw materials, that is, the cables and other defined e-waste types, will be selected and strictly monitored by the Environmental Protection Agency and the Ministry to ensure that they adhere to standards.
As part of our permitting processes or formalization processes, we look at baseline studies that you need to actually do. And some of the baseline studies might be soil analysis, water or groundwater analysis that you need to do to establish what levels are there. If they are too high, you might be asked to put in some remedial measures before you can operate where you are. So that once you do that, the permit condition that we give you will actually help you to put in measures that will actually prevent or protect you from being affected. So going forward, as we said, the formalization process will actually improve the environment because they are collecting out of the environment, and then also they are doing their work safely because GIZ and other projects are also training them how to dismantle some of these items safely, how they should be using PPEs and other things to do their work. So in terms of the environment being cleaned because they are taking waste out, they themselves have been trained to actually do dismantling well. So safety issues are being catered for, and then they keep their businesses running.
EPA is in process of auditing all companies that are into recycling, e-waste recycling. Once they are done with the auditing, they will make known to us companies that are in good standing, and competitively they will compete for the cables.
Most of them have to also retool their processes to receive whatever waste is being collected, and we give them permit as well. So whatever is given to you to recycle as a formal recycler, you need to go by some standards in order not to pollute the environment through the recycling processes.
The lessons learned from the project will feed into the national system.
If we build a recycling plant, we are able to process the e-waste here locally. We are going to create a lot of jobs. Since we are going to have collectors and holding centers across the nation, it's going to be a way that we are going to generate or create employment and also create wealth for the people. And so far, we've spent about 226,000 Ghana cedis buying close to 19 tons of e-waste from the collectors. There's this SGS that is going to collect the advanced eco levy, and this will be kept in an account that should be managed.
So this levy is supposed to feed into the whole incentive system, whereby whatever waste you collect, you are giving some money for doing that job. If you do dismantling, you'll be giving some money for dismantling, and then all the way to people who do disposal. So that is the incentive system that we are trying to use to actually sustain this whole project.
One of the indicators of the success of the project will be that the burning in the common environment is reduced or even stopped. There is a proof of purchased of a certain quantities purchased of e-waste types. That the handover center is operating accordingly, and that we have shown the pilot of the national e-waste program.
So in fact, we have seen the benefit. So if we have seen the benefit, why will we want to resort back to, doing things the old way?
The phase 1 of the project is a 10 million euro. 10 million euro for the phase 1 of the project. The design is such that if the phase 1 is implemented successfully, then there is another 10 million euro which will be used for a phase 2. Currently on paper, we are looking at a 2-year duration for the phase 2. But again, the exigencies of the time when it ends will inform the duration that we'll be looking at. There are areas like Ashaman that the e-waste business is booming there. So we can add on the Ashaman area. We know that there are a lot of e-waste businesses booming in Tamale. We can do some selective regions, right? If not all the regions in Ghana, we can do some selection.
It's an important industry, and they need to be protected. And I can assure the people in Abuburushi or Fadama that the government is not going to drive any person away. That is why we've taken the pains to do things to make their life a little bit better.
The formalization of the electronic waste industry by the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation and KFW, it is hoped, will minimize the negative impact on the environment, thereby improving upon the well-being and livelihood of the scrap dealers as well as those who ply their trade at Old Fadama.